Hello everyone, welcome back to the Django tutorial series. So for this time, we're going to continue on with the views. So last time we discussed all about the create and the list view. And this time we're going to go more in depth with the detail view, the update view, and the delete view in order to finish off our CRUD operation, or what we call the create, read, update, and delete operations for our Django application, which is our little simple to do app. So hopefully you're ready to learn, and let's get started with today's video. Okay, so let's start with today's lesson, which is going to be continuing on with our views. So in the last video, we talked about list view and create view to create a little sort of list, and a way to create this list, or at least add on to this list using a create form. Let's just hit on enter. And then we could say the task name could be task number 4, add in a little start date and a little end date, and save it to make a little task. Okay, so that's looking good so far, but we have no way to update it, we have no way to delete, and we have no way to look at the rest of the details, because right now it's just showing task 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So we need to actually create 3 more things. Firstly, we need to create an update, a delete, and a detail view. So let's start with update. So from the previous video, we did a little create along with its create form. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make use of something called an update view. So we're going to say class update to do. It will use update view as a little way to access some functionalities. So for now, it's not yet currently defined. No worries. We could just go here to the generic.edit because it is part of that section of Django. We'll say update view as well. Okay, so now that is successfully imported. So we'll say for this, we're going to make a template with a name of to do update.html. And we'll say model is equal to do. So it will be based on that model. The form class will be to do form. And lastly, we'll have a get success URL. So we'll just change whatever's happening in here. Change it to be a return of reverse. And instead of reverse, we're going to do something called reverse lazy. So you may wonder, what's the difference between reverse and reverse lazy? So reverse lazy is much like reverse, except reverse needs it to actually be resolved before it will redirect to another page. But for this, you could say reverse lazy, and then I want it to be a to-do detail. We'll make this detail view later on. And then we'll pass in some arguments in here, which will be the primary key, which is going to be the ID of this thing we're going to update. And then it will be the self object.pk, which is pretty much the ID. Let's try and break this down because it seems like a lot is happening in one line. So what's happening in here is we get the get success URL method in here, and we're going to change the default, which it will just stay on the page if it's successful. Instead, we're going to return a redirect using a reverse here. And we're going to say lazy because this is going to be used to not check if it's resolved. It will say if it does encounter an error, it will output later on. But for now, we're assuming that everything's good. So redirect to do detail, which we're going to create later on underneath this detail comment. So this is going to be the name of that as well, much like what we did in line 20 with reverse to do list. After that, we're going to say quarks. So what does quarks mean? So right from the word args, args is referring to arguments, and KW here, maybe a new one here for quarks, is actually short for keyword. So altogether, it will be keyword arguments, meaning you could pass in a certain kind of key value pair, meaning this key is a key for the PK or the ID of the object you're currently editing, and it's going to be equal to the object's PK right here. So we're saying once we're done editing this to do, we want to redirect back to the detail view of this object. And to access that, we need the ID of the object we just edited. Okay, so hopefully that's pretty clear so far. So we're just going to make a bit of space for that. And then next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a little delete to do with a delete view. So we're going to say for this, class delete to do using a delete view right here. And then we're going to import that as well right at the very top underneath the generic.edit because it is part of the editing views of Django's generic view collection. And then in here, we're going to say we're going to use a template name of to do delete.html. Okay. After that, we'll say model is going to be equal to do, because we want to do an edit to the to-do model as well. And then the success URL is pretty much the same as in the create to do. So we're just going to copy that and paste it in over here. So if you want to review, we use the get success URL to do a little redirect. And we get from the self, because the get success URL is using the self to redirect the page. So it's making use of some methods that appear in this class function. And then after that, we'll say it will return a reverse to redirect to the to-do list view. And if you're wondering where this is going to be, it is in our URLs, the name of the path, which refers to to-do list. So these are pretty much the same. Okay, so we'll edit this later to create the templates. And lastly, this one's the most important, one of the more important ones. There's going to be the detail view. What we're going to say in here is class of to-do details. So we're going to look into the details of this view. We'll say to-do details, detail view. Use a template name of to-do detail.html. And the model of this will be to-do, because we're going to iterate from that to-do model. And for this, we're going to take it from the same import as list view, because it is not editing, it's just listing out the details of a certain model object. So we'll say detail view in here, and that should be everything good to go. Now you may notice with the views, we don't need to create any migrations or migrate anything. It's because the views are, all that it's doing is just basing on the model that we have right now, which we created to do, and we don't need to save anything to the database. Therefore, we could just make view changes, and then we don't need to do the whole make migrations, migrate, and then run server cycle. It's only when we edit the models when we need to do that song and dance. But for now, this is going to be good. So all that's left to do is to actually hook this up to some URLs, because currently, if we do /update, that doesn't exist yet, or delete, or even just looking at the primary key of 1 or the ID of 1, it does not lead to anything. So we need to hook that up. And once again, we could see that in the urls.py. Okay, so let's talk about what's going to happen here. We're going to import update to do, delete to do, and to do details. So that's going to be good. What I'm going to do is copy what's happening in here. We're going to say first is update. Oh, but before that though, we actually need to, maybe it's best to actually talk about the to-do details first. So maybe I'll do that. Okay, so for the to-do details, we're actually going to use something pretty unique. This PK is being surrounded by some angle brackets. What does this mean? So to put it simply, it's just a kind of URL where we're going to fill in a certain value using the power of URL paths, or the URL query parameters. So in this, we're going to say something like for the PK, maybe the ID is going to be 1 for this. So it will iterate to create a little path or a little kind of route for each object over here. We'll try and demonstrate that later on. And then this PK will have to do details.as view. Once again, we need that for the generic view. And then we'll say the name will be to do detail. Okay, simple enough so far. The next thing we're going to do for this is, let's try and see what happens when we do a /1 perhaps. And we could see that the template does not currently exist yet. So yeah, we haven't actually made the to do detail template. So let's try and work on that right now. But before we do that, I would like to recommend a way to actually make our templates a lot less cumbersome. Because right now, you can see that we're always creating repeated code where we have the HTML, the head, and the body. And there's actually a way to kind of condense this layout. And in order to do that, we're going to use the power of Jinja once again to create some sectioning in our HTML so we don't have to repeat as much text as we need to. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go to our templates, create a new file, and name it base.html. This base.html is pretty much, from the name itself, going to be the base of all our HTML files. So there's a great way to save on lines on the HTML files, and this to-do create to-do list and the rest of our templates are only going to need what's unique to those templates. But for now, let's create a little boilerplate code. We'll use the exclamation point to create the code like so. And this title can be replaced using the power of blocks. So in here, in order to create a block, we're just going to create some curly braces along with %signs inside. This way to run some code inside of our HTML. So we'll say for this block title. And then after that, we'll say another code block using Jinja we'll say end block right after that. So maybe this kind of layout is much more preferable if you would like to do so. So later on in our to-do create and to-do list, we're just going to call on this block of title, put in some text, and then end the block. So we could create some unique content per page, but still we don't need to repeat all of these because these are going to be the same, all the head and the metadata, along with the title and the body. A lot of these are going to be pretty similar. So for now, this title is going to be one of the first examples of our block usage. Okay, next thing we're going to do is have a little header. So maybe I want to create a little h1 in this, and then we're going to make headers per page to signify where we are currently. So I'll say the block header right here. And then underneath that, we're going to say something like end block. So much in the same vein as the block title, we create a little header space as well for the header content. And then after that, we have some space for the block content as well. And be sure to never forget the end block, or you may run into an error later on. Okay, so that's a pretty good base so far. So the question is, how do we use this to change our create and to-do list? Okay, so let's try and go over that. So in our to-do list over here, what we're going to do is we're going to take out everything that has already been put in our base.html, which refers to the body and the closing tags right here. So what we're going to do is look at our base and see what needs to be selected. So say this, and this, and this. Okay, first we'll get the block title. We want to fill this in to put in some unique data for our to-do list. So for our title for this page, we're going to say to-do list. Just keep things pretty simple. And after that is going to be the block of header, block header, like so. And then end block. So we're going to say in here, to-do list. Maybe I should also put that dash right here as well. Okay, and then right after that, we're going to say the block content will be the rest of the code that is unique to this to-do list. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. So let's try and refresh the page. And you can see that the to-do list was able to be created. So right now, it's kind of a duplicate right here. It's double to-do lists. So let's see what's happening in here. Block title, block header. That is interesting. So right now, the title is not putting the title in the tab name over here. So let's try and fix that. Let's try and refresh the server. Maybe this needs a bit of time to refresh, and nope, unfortunately, that is not fixing the error. Let's try and go back here. So you can see the block title here is going to be the to-do list. Okay, yep, I now see the problem. We're actually missing something called extends base.html because it currently doesn't know which HTML file it's going to be extending or getting these blocks from. So we're going to refresh now, and we'll see that everything is fine. And then there you go. So now we have our to-do list. Our to-do list has now changed the title over here at the top, and we have dictated the contents as well in the content block. So we use this base as like a template, or a template of a template, I guess one would say. So that is how we dictate the to-do list using the power of Jinja, and this pretty much makes it a lot better for the rest of the code, because if we utilize something like this, we're actually using quite a bit more lines compared to just getting blocks and filling in these contents. So we don't have to repeat a lot of things for different kinds of files. So this is a great way to organize if you want to do so. Using a base template, you could fill in certain sections and create meaningful templates. Okay, so let's try and do the same thing for the to-do create. So what I'm going to do is copy everything that's happening up here. We'll paste it right here as well. And then we're going to say block content will be the unique code that is going to be for this to-do create. So this to-do create has a form, and it will display all the form fields like so, along with a save button. Okay, so for this, we're going to say create to-do instead of the to-do list because we are in the create to-do form. Okay, so let's try and see what's happening in the create route. And you can see that now we have a create to do along with the tab title change, and we have the same kinds of inputs that we had a while ago. Okay, that's pretty good so far. The only things that I'd like to add to the list would probably be some hyperlinks, since I don't want to keep typing the routes every time. So let's go back to the to-do list, and then let's add in a little button or maybe a little a tag over here. And we're going to say, we're going to go to /create, and we'll say, we'll make a button, which is going to be create to do. Okay, let's see how that goes. We'll create a to do, and we are linked to the create route like so. So this is one of the ways where we could link to other routes in our page. You could even just take out the button and just make it an a tag on its own, but for me, I'd prefer using a button for now, at least. Okay, and we'll do the same thing. We'll put this in the create, so we have a link to going back to home. So for this, we'll just change it to the / to refer back to the home page, and we'll say back to home. Okay, let's see how that looks like right now. And we have a back to home little button over here. So if I want to put that above the header, I could do so as well by putting it right up here. And let's see where that goes. It actually goes outside. So you see that we have to put it inside of the one of the blocks in order to make it display. So to do that, maybe I could put it in here perhaps. And there you go. It puts it kind of in the same line as the create to do. So we could try and fix that layout later. For now, I'll just put it back in the block content. So we have a little link at least. So we have a little functionality, and we don't have to type out the routes every time we have to create a to do. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. We now have a link to go back home and go to the create form. Now, we really have to go and create the to do update because that really needs a way to be fixed. Or at least before that, we need to create what is called as the to do detail.html. So for the to do detail.html, we're going to use the same kind of principle over here. We're going to put that underneath. We'll say this is going to be extending base.html again. You're going to be seeing this quite a lot. And we're going to have a block title, and instead of the to list, we're going to say this is going to be something we'll utilize, object.task name. So this is going to be getting a certain value or a variable from the object. So we're saying an object that we're accessing right now is going to be one of the tasks. So that is how we're going to see the details of everything later on. And then the block header for this will be the same thing. We'll say this is going to be the object.task name. That's for the header. And then for the content of this, we just want to put, well, first the block, and then in block as well to close that out. For this, we're going to say we'll have a little a tag as well to bring us back to home, of course, since we don't want to be stuck on this. So we'll bring this back to the to do detail. Okay. And then underneath this, we're going to say a paragraph tag with the object.task start. So this is going to be our start date for the object, and then we'll have a task end as well. So in order to create a little duplication of the line over here like I did, it's actually Alt-Shift down or Option-Shift down if you're on the Mac. So you could try that out on your end if you would like to do so. Okay. Underneath that, we're going to have two buttons with links. One is going to be for update. So I'll just change this to update like so. And then one will be for delete. So we'll hook these up as well in the future. Okay, and that's actually going to do it for the to-do detail. So let's try and query number one like so. And you can see the details of task one right here. We have the start date and the end date along with an update and delete. So right now, if we go to these, we don't have those URLs hooked up yet. So we're going to put some things in that later on. Okay, so this is going to be our update page, but for now, we actually don't have a way to go to this because the task 1, task 2, 3, and 4 are currently not clickable. We actually don't have any access to those. So in order to bring back some access to these routes, what we're going to do is go to the to-do list, and we're going to use this li of the task name as a way to link to each of these tasks' detail views. In order to do that, let's make a little a tag in between here and use the task name as the link content. We'll see that href for this will be a little special thing. It's actually going to use something called the to-do.id. So there, we're going to use that in order to make it unique to every to-do in the object list. For example, this to-do may have an ID of 1 and the next one will have an ID of 2 until we reach the end of our list of to-dos. So let's see how that'll look like. And now we have links to each of these. We could click on one of them and it brings us the information for each of these tasks every time we click on them. So yeah, that is how we create a little detail view. We now have a way to reference these. And maybe the only thing I'd edit now is to actually create a little indication as to what these dates actually mean. So you could say date start, or maybe something more apt would be start date for this, and then end date or due date. There you go. That looks pretty good. Okay, we could leave it with that for now. Okay, so now we have two problems left to solve here. We have the update view and the delete view. So let's try and fix that right now. So let's go back to our views, and we could see that the delete view and the update view are using to do update and to do delete. So the good thing about the to do update is actually going to be using the same form and actually pretty much the same template as the create to do. So what I'm going to do for this is actually, so what we're going to do here is actually copy this to do create over here and then create a new file called to do update. So you may see that these are going to be pretty much the same kind of code, except for just changing the updates here to for the creates. And then instead of save, we'll say for this, it will be update. So this could be a bit more optimized. Maybe we could create another base for the to do form. But for now, we could keep it to create and update as different kinds of forms for the sake of simplicity. Okay, so let's see what will happen if we click on update now. Okay, so currently it's still not yet found because we have not yet hooked it up to the urls.py. So let's do that real quick. We'll create a path and we'll call it PK, so we know which one we're going to be updating, and then we'll use update to signify that we're actually in the update view. We'll say update to do dot as view, since it is a generic view. Then we'll create a name here, call it to do update. There you go. And while we're at it, let's actually put in the delete as well. We'll say delete and delete to do. This will become to do delete. Okay, that's pretty good so far. So let's click on update right now. And this brings us to the update to do. So you can see that the layout is pretty much almost the same as the create, except now it is filled in with the information that comes with the task number 1. So we'll say for this, maybe you want the task start to be February 3. Update it, and then you can see that the start date is now February 3 instead of February 1. Refresh just to make sure that it is staying in the database, and we could confirm that yes, it is definitely a change that we made inside of the update. Okay, so you can see that updating and creating is actually really simple using power of Django because all the functions are already laid out for you. So the database queries and creating, updating, deleting, and making a list of all of these contents already hooked up using the power of Django and the Django generic views. Okay, we actually have one last thing to tackle over here, and it's going to be the delete form. So for the delete form, we could create a new file. For this, we'll say to do delete.html and hit on enter for that. So for the to do delete.html, we're going to take a bit of a different approach for this. First, we're going to take the base.html changes and let's create a little block for the content once again. And this time, we're still going to create a form, but it's going to look a bit different because what we want to do here is a little confirmation page. So I'll say block content for this, and then an end block to close this block of markup code. And then for this, we'll create a form with the method of post. We'll take out this action because we do not need that. Django will do the action for us. Then we'll have a CSRF token once again to make sure that we're doing a credible kind of query for the form. And then for the paragraph, we're going to say, are you sure you want to delete? And then in here, I want to make a little strong tag to signify that we're highlighting the object in here in the strong tag. So we're going to make it bold. And then we'll do a little question mark since it is a question. And then we're going to make two buttons. One is going to be the button of type button. Make sure it's a type button or else it will submit the form. And for this, it's going to actually be a little A tag as well. So we'll say A. We'll put this closing tag right after the closing tag of the button. And this will go back to the object ID. So it will redirect back to the object later on. And for this button, we're going to say cancel. This essentially saying, I don't want to delete anymore. Bring me back to the previous page. But if you're really, really sure that you want to delete this, we have an input type of submit. Let's do that. And then we'll say the value of this is confirm in case they are sure that they want to delete this content. Okay, and that's actually going to do it for the delete form. So let's see which one I want to change here. Task 4 perhaps. If I want to delete this, it will say, are you sure you want to delete task number 4? So I'll say confirm, and we could verify that task 4 has successfully been removed from our to-do list. So that is how we create the update, delete, and detail view. Okay, so I just have one more change I'd like to do for this. In the to-do update, instead of going back to home, maybe it's more apt to actually redirect back to the object details. So we'll say this will be the object.id instead. And then we'll say for this, we'll just go back, perhaps. That's probably a simple way to put it. So we'll say task number 1, update, and then we can bring us back as well, like so. So yeah, it looks like the way we're going to go through this website has been routed successfully. We could update or cancel that, delete, confirm or cancel that deletion. And looks like everything is pretty seamless so far when it comes to the functionalities and the layout. Okay, so that's actually going to do it for this lesson. Hopefully you're able to create the update, delete, and detail view with me. And in the next session, we're going to do some styling to this to-do list and possibly add in some more functionalities, like maybe changing the models quite a bit, or some other things that we can discuss in the future. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one.